You're watching The Attorneys, a paid advertisement brought to you by the law firm of Hollis Wright.
Car crashes, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, The Attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts with The Attorneys of Hollis Wright.
Welcome. You are watching The Attorneys. I'm Art Franklin. Thanks so much for joining us. Say you pay your insurance every month and you think that you're protected. But what happens when a driver who hits you has no insurance or not enough insurance to cover the damages he caused? Well, we're going to talk about that as we talk about underinsured and drivers with no insurance at all. We're going to get into that topic for you. But first, I want to remind you that lawyers at Hollis Wright, they're standing by right now to take your call. All you have to do is call 1-844-LAW-TALK, 1-844-LAW-TALK. It's a free and confidential call. You can reach someone right now. Glad to have you with us, John. Good to see you again. It's been a minute.
Yeah, good to see you as well. Thanks for having me on, Art.
It's good to have you. And we've got a great guest, Awanna Scott, is going to be with us throughout the show.
Hello, nice to be here.
And you hit it at the lead in there. We're talking about something today, uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage and claims, and kind of trying to break that topic down. And we've got, as you mentioned, Awanna Scott's going to be here this evening talking to us about that. She's a fantastic lawyer, really, really well versed in this area. I want to thank you so much for coming on. We do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm glad to be here.
And before we jump into the topic tonight, just kind of tell the viewers a little bit, kind of introduce yourself, kind of what you do on a daily basis, what kind of cases you handle, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I am a personal injury attorney here in Birmingham, and I've been in the legal field since 2013, and I started my own practice in 2023, but I became an attorney in 2019, and just primarily doing personal injury claims in law. And I just love helping people on a day-to-day basis with their insurance claims, car accidents, slip and falls, and any kind of personal injury claims that they have.
Absolutely, something that's near and dear to my heart as well, and what Hollis Wright does. And let's dive into the topic today. We're talking about uninsured, underinsured motorist, claims and coverage. Just kind of generally, what is a uninsured or underinsured motorist claim, and how does it kind of different from like a liability claim, for instance?
Yes, absolutely. So I've been, like I said before, I've been working in the legal field since 2013, and coming in, like that was it. It was just so confusing to people how to file claims and these car accidents, injuries, and I came in and without the understanding of what uninsured motorist coverage is or underinsured motorist coverage is, and I quickly learned that first offhand, but the difference between an uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage is that uninsured motorist coverage happens to kick in. It's under your own personal policy, and it kicks in once you are involved in an accident with someone that does not have any insurance at all. And the underinsurance motorist coverage, that kicks in when you are involved with in an accident with someone that has coverage, but it's just not enough to cover your damages in full.
Okay, so the underinsured is there as kind of a second layer of coverage if the person who causes the accident just simply doesn't have enough coverage to fully compensate the injured person. Fair?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
and then uninsured is if the person who causes the accident has zero insurance whatsoever, and both of those coverages, they're kind of, those terms are kind of used synonymously. The uninsured, underinsured. Both of those coverages, though, are under, if you're representing the injured client, their injured victim, both of those coverages would be available under your client's insurance, correct?
Absolutely, yes, that's correct. They would be covered under my clients most of the time, their insurance policies. And like I said, they kick in if they're involved in an accident with someone that either doesn't have insurance or not enough coverage, or even like a phantom vehicle that they might not know, any information on that may have, driven them off the road or anything like that.
Okay, and so yeah, the phantom vehicles is essentially where you don't know who caused the damage. You know that it was caused by the ownership, use, maintenance of a motor vehicle, but we don't know who that individual is. They are uninsured because we don't know who they are. Fair?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. And so these UIM claims, do you see them a lot in your practice?
Absolutely, I see them a lot. A lot of clients come in and. Because, life is expensive right now, so a lot of people on the road tend to not carry insurance, and I believe the statistic now is probably about 20% of people on the road are uninsured. So, that's a lot of people. When you're driving on the road next to someone, you can't, tell who has coverage and who doesn't. So, my clients, most of the time when they come in, I always ask first off, what is your policy? What kind of coverage do you have under your policy? Do you have uninsured motorist coverage? Just in case the other party, the at-fault party that caused the accident, does not have any coverage. So I like to cover that basis first because it is so important.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a staggering statistic. 20% of drivers in Alabama don't have any insurance whatsoever. And then we see a lot of times, if they do have insurance, there might be a state minimum, which in Alabama is $25,000. And as you mentioned, life right now is very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
These medical bills, can quickly, eclipse that $25,000 in coverage just for ER visit and maybe one or two follow-up, post-accident visits. And so that UIM, the underinsured, is very important, where you've got somebody who does have insurance, but that $25,000 isn't going to be enough to satisfy the medical bills, let alone compensate, the person who did absolutely nothing wrong to cause this accident. What are some of the costs kind of that you're seeing associated? Because I know we talked about this before the show, how important it is to have UIM. Is it an expensive,
Oh, no.
coverage to have?
Absolutely not. That's like the misunderstood part of the coverage. In Alabama, in the state of Alabama, that coverage is automatically written into the policy unless someone rejects it, which never do. Please don't ever do that. But that cost, like you said, we talked about earlier, I looked at my policy and literally it's only $13 extra a month that I pay for $250,000 to $500,000 in coverage for, that's just one vehicle. And if you have multiple vehicles, you can also multiply that coverage by that amount as well. So
it's a little bit of cost and a very significant coverage if you find yourself in that situation where a person doesn't have insurance, a person doesn't have enough insurance. And one thing, we've got kind of a captive audience here. What matters is what is in place at the time the accident happens. So if you're sitting at home tonight right now watching this and saying, man, I don't know if I had that coverage or not, it's worth the phone call, because if you find yourself in these situations where the person doesn't have any insurance or doesn't have enough insurance, you need to have this coverage in place. And so I would reach out to your auto insurance provider or insurer and let them know, hey, I want to look into this coverage, and ask those questions now, because if you try to do it after the fact, it's not going to apply. So you need to do it before something bad happens.
And it's also probably a good idea now, while you're watching the show, and you can tell us when we come back what they should look for in their policy, because they can probably pull up their policy now and take a look at what's missing. And I'm sure there's some things you guys can point out that they should have in that policy.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to keep this discussion going. We're just getting started here. And also just getting started are those lawyers at Hollis Wright, standing by to take your call at 1-844-LAW-TALK for a free confidential call. Go ahead and give them a call right now. They'll be manning the phones throughout the show. I want to remind you, great content for Hollis Wright on all social media platforms, whether it's X, Instagram, or Facebook. Even give you some behind the scenes stuff too. You can see some things happening there as well. So go ahead and check us out there. We're going to take a break. We'll continue this discussion when we come back. You're watching The Attorneys.
Here's some good information from our firm to you. Hollis Wright recently launched the Law Talk podcast. With podcasts becoming so popular, this will be a simple way to provide our loyal viewers with more opportunities to access information about important legal topics and to learn more about our firm and how we can help you if the need ever arises. There are many ways to access the Law Talk podcast. You can simply scan the QR code on your screen. Also, episodes are always available on the Hollis Wright YouTube channel, as well as on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you consume your podcasts. Just search up Hollis Wright in the Law Talk podcast. Don't wait, take advantage and listen today. Thanks for watching The Attorneys, and we know you'll enjoy the Law Talk podcast.
The Attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you.
When we started the show in 2011, my goal was to do what our firm does best. Help people answer questions related to real-world legal issues they have in their lives in a way that's not intimidating to talk with a lawyer. If the issue is important to you, it's equally important to us, and we're ready to talk with you at no cost.
Yeah, oftentimes people are confronting various legal issues in their lives that really run the gamut of a lot of different legal practice areas, such as bankruptcy, criminal law, civil law, such as personal injury, divorces, domestic relations. And to be able to have a show once a week that covers those practice areas and answers people's questions in those areas, that's really the main objective of the show.
We use the resources of the many lawyers at our law firm to create a plan that has a lasting impact for each person that calls or texts. And we also give back to the community at the same time. We are here to serve you, the viewer, each week on The Attorneys.
Addiction kills hope.
But at Bradford, it all changes here.
Experience the difference
that proven treatment can make.
Find recovery. Find community.
At Bradford.
You're watching The Attorneys, a paid advertisement brought to you by the law firm of Hollis Wright.
Welcome back. You're watching The Attorneys, and we're talking about uninsured and underinsured motorists. And I know that's not talking about you, because you probably have full coverage, right? We talked about checking that out before we go into break, and want to bring that back up. Now, there's some things that, as you're at home right now, they can grab their policy and find out if they really have full coverage. Most people think they're covered, and they may not be.
Yeah, we hear the term all the time talking to our clients, I have full coverage, I have full coverage. Well, the next question is, what does that mean to you? What do you understand full coverage to be? And so you really got to start with the policy. And where can you go if you are at home right now and you're wondering, hey, do I have that? Do I not? Where can you direct somebody to go to see what coverages that they have?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right now, everything is mostly online.
Right.
I have my access to my policy through an app. Mm-hmm. You can go on either the app or onto their, online website and look at your policy. And on that front page, it should have your deck page. That deck page is your declaration page, which actually shows what coverage you have on your policy. And you can go in and it'll show whether, you'll have the liability, general liability coverage, collision or comprehensive coverage, medical payments coverage, which is also a good thing to have on your policy as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then it'll also list as a line item the uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. And typically, like you said, the state minimum just for liability is $25.50 on the policy. And I think that you have to actually have that same amount of coverage on your uninsured or uninsured motorist coverage. You can't get more unless you up your liability coverage. So in that case, basically they have to match.
Yeah, yes, and most times when you're going and increasing your liability, you'll increase the uninsured, underinsured as well at the same time, and we use these terms uninsured, underinsured, and they kind of can be used synonymous. It might say on your policy that uninsured motorist. Most policies these days cover both. But that term can be used synonymously. So just if you only see uninsured, it might be worth asking and following up, make sure you have that underinsured as well. But the state minimum is $25,000, and there's a statute that says that you have to provide that unless the named insured under the policy signs a rejection and a waiver.
Absolutely.
And so that can be waived in writing, right? It has to be in writing.
It has to be. Yes, absolutely.
Why would someone do that? Why would they waive that?
I don't think we'd recommend it.
We definitely don't recommend it, and I absolutely, I mean, like, there's some things that you can skimp on in life, and that's just one of those things that you should not skimp on. Like, do not reject that coverage. It protects you and it protects your family, so why not have it?
Yeah, I guess the answer, it could potentially be a cost-cutting thing, but as we talked about, the relative, costs to have the coverage are just so severely outweighed by the reward of having the coverage if you find yourself in one of these situations. Let's talk about, okay, you have the coverage. We've told everybody how important it is to have this coverage. You've done everything. You've called your insurance. You've made sure that it's in place. You get in an accident. Who all is going to be covered under that uninsured motorist? And I'll give you a hypothetical. Say I'm driving the car, you're in the passenger seat, and Art is a terrible driver and he rear ends us, and
that would be me.
And he doesn't have any insurance, and so we got to go against my insurance. Okay, who all would have a claim? Does Art have a claim against my insurance if he causes the accident?
Absolutely not. Sorry, Art, but no claim for you. But that uninsured motorist coverage would actually apply to you, the driver, as the policyholder, and also me as the passenger in the vehicle. And if we had any other passengers in the vehicle, it would apply to them as well.
Okay.
So.
And we hear a lot of times, and I know you mentioned we were talking about the deck page, 2550, and is that $25,000 per person? Is that what that means?
So yeah, the $25,000 is the max that one person can get, and then as the whole vehicle, that would be a $50,000 amount allotted. So, for instance, yes, that would be $25 for you and $25 for me as the maximum. Just as long as our bills are up to that amount.
Right, as long as the damages warrant
yes.
that coverage, and so. That's based on the hypothetical that I posed to say there's another passenger. Say Art's actually is in the car with me, and all three of us are in the car, and we all have claims. So that $25.50, the most they would pay for any one person would be $25, and the most that they would pay for the entire occurrence or accident would be $50. So if it's divided, a third, or 25, and y'all divide 25, or that's how that is kind of shared out and allocated out, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. What about if we're keep this the same kind of hypothetical? I'm driving, it's my insurance, but you've got your own vehicles, and Art's got his own vehicles. Can you access those insurance claims as well?
Yes, you can, absolutely. If our damages, if it could be, something catastrophic in this accident and we are seriously injured, one hospital bill can max out your entire policy. And in that case, I would be able to use mine that's on my own vehicle, and Art would actually be able to tap into his own on his vehicle as well. Even though we weren't in, our own separate, vehicles, we were in your vehicle, we can still use our own policies.
So someone else in my household could use my uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage driving their vehicle?
Absolutely. Yes, they can.
Okay.
Yes.
And we'll get back after the break. I want to kind of unpack that a little bit and stacking and how that works, because it can get very confusing, and something that one of the reasons why it's important to consult a lawyer and handle this, because it can get all very procedural, very quick, and if you don't do the right thing, you can actually kill the coverage that you did have. So we can pick that up after the break.
That's a good tease too, John. As we go to break, you can see that's why you watch the attorneys, because you get this type of good information, and also you have access to the attorneys at Hollis Wright. Dial 1-844-LAW-TALK. 1-844-LAW-TALK right now to get a free confidential call with them. We're unpacking uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage right here, right now. Stick with us. We'll be back to wrap it up right after this break.
Thank you for watching The Attorneys each Sunday night, where we come to your living room to provide free legal advice in a confidential, off-air setting. Unfortunately, with the number of calls, texts, and emails that come in during the show, we can't always get to everything. But know this, Hollis Wright is open all week long. You call us at 844-LAW-TALK and we're going to answer your question for free. Thank you for watching The Attorneys, and we look forward to seeing you and talking to you soon.
If this place could talk, it wouldn't. It would sing and celebrate all of our stories of addiction recovery, victory, and community. This is Bradford Health Services. It all changes here.
You're watching The Attorneys, a paid advertisement brought to you by the law firm of Hollis Wright.
Welcome back. You're watching The Attorneys, and we're talking about uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. And before we went to break, we brought up this whole idea of stacking coverage. We're going to get back over to John Spade, who's going to unpack that for us a little bit.
Absolutely. And this is a very important facet of uninsured, underinsured motorists. It's not going to be there on the liability side and the liability coverage. In Alabama, if you have a insurance policy through Alpha, for instance, you can stack up to 3 vehicles on any one policy in Alabama. And so if you've got multiple cars, you've got 3 or more, and you have uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage on each one of those vehicles, you can combine those limits. So in that scenario, Awanna, if they have the state minimum, if they have 25,000 and they've got 3 or more vehicles, how much uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage would they have?
Oh yes, they would have up to 75,000 if they can stack those 3 policies, or up to 150,000 if for the occurrence, the total occurrence.
The per person per occurrence. That's right. That's
per person per occurrence. Absolutely. I actually had an incident where a client of mine, she was involved in a really, really bad accident, and she spent 4 days in UAB, over $1 million in bills, and not much coverage. The at-fault driver actually passed away, unfortunately, in the accident, but he only had a minimal policy, $25,000 that was available to her. And luckily, she was smart and had her own which is underinsured motorist coverage that she was able to tap into. She had 2 cars on that policy, so she was able to stack those 2 policies, which gave her an extra $50,000. Those were minimum $25,000 policies. And she was able to also use her daughter's insurance because she was a resident relative that lived in the same household as her. So she was able to get her daughter's coverage as well.
That's so important, and the kind of highlights the reason why, if you're in an accident, it's always important to consult an attorney, and if you have significant injuries, especially because there are certain procedures that you have to follow to be able to access these coverages, and then once you access one, can you access more under that policy? Are there other policies that you can access? We talked about the resident relative, and we use that term, a lot in what we do from a day-to-day basis. That term has meaning under the policy, and you have to, fit certain criteria to be able to access, that type of coverage. So it is very, very important to consult with an attorney if you're in an accident, and especially if you think that you might have a potential uninsured, underinsured motorist claim, because if you don't do things correct and give the proper notice under Alabama law, and you accept a settlement from the other person's insurance without giving your insurance the right and opportunity to make some decisions, and you could end up killing the coverage that you have and that you're paying for without even realizing. So there's a procedure that has to be followed, and that's why it's just vitally important to contact an attorney.
And then will it also make it very difficult to get that insurance in the future if it kills your coverage then?
It can potentially. I will say the insurance companies like it when they don't have to pay things out, and if they can get you on a technicality, they're going to try to do it. Also, why it's important to have an attorney, I think, vet the rejection as well. I've had situations in the past where my client was a named insured under the policy, and they never signed a written rejection, and they had multiple cars on the policy. And without a signed written rejection from the named insured, they had to kind of force in place, the insurance company did, that state minimum of coverage, and we were able to go through that. And it took a lot to get to that point, but these little things do matter in the grand scheme of things. So very, very important. And one kind of thing that I would, when you're thinking about these things, the uninsured and underinsured motorist follows a person, right?
Absolutely.
It follows you. And that's why we're talking about, if in that example, if I'm driving and you have, at-home vehicles, you're covered under those.
Yes.
You are. And I would be if I have other vehicles as well. On the liability side, you're insuring the vehicle. At least in an auto situation, and so you're not able to stack or access these other policies because they're not following you. So that's kind of an important thing when handling these types of cases. Now we talked about reaching out to an attorney is very important. What's your kind of time limits on these types of cases and claims?
Oh yeah, I would say reach out to an attorney immediately as soon as you get checked out and everything like that. Reach out to an attorney. The state allows a 2-year statute of limitation under the liability part for the at-fault party's insurance. But under your own coverage, if you utilize your uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage, you have up to 6 years, I believe. Mm-hmm. So you have that time frame to make this claim, just as long as you put the at-fault party's insurance on notice. So as long as you made a claim with them, you have up to 6 years to make a claim under your own.
How important is it to list everyone on the policy? Because sometimes names are excluded. Can you talk about that?
Yes, that is very important. I actually have several cases where clients of mine, did not list everyone on their policy as a driver, or even included them on the policy, and they have been excluded from that coverage when they needed it. And it really hurts my heart because I love helping my clients. I just hate to have to tell them that it doesn't apply and that they didn't list that person correctly on their policy. But these things happen all the time. That's why we always, we're saying reach out to your attorneys and look at what your policy is and try to understand it, understand these terms, understand the coverage that you're paying for. You're paying for these premiums, so might as well put them to use if you need them.
Well, it's been great, Awanna. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for having me.
All right, and we thank you so much for watching, and make sure you join us again next week, same place, same time.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by Hollis Wright.